Hi everyone, I'm back. Today I'm going to show you how to make this amazing, yummy and easy recipe of homemade Moroccan bread. For this recipe, we're going to use about 1 pound of all-purpose flour and 1 pound of extra fancy durum. If you don't have extra fancy durum, you can just use 2 pounds of all-purpose flour. It's still fine. We need about 1 tablespoon and a half of salt, 1 tablespoon and a half of sugar, about 2 tablespoons of dry yeast, 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil, and of course we need some warm water for the dough. Here I pour my flour in a mixing bowl. I'm using my bread machine or my electric mixer. If you don't have one, you can just use your hands. I make a little hole there in the middle where I put my sugar, my yeast. Then I add some about a cup of warm water, not too hot and not too cold. Then I add my salt and I add my vegetable oil. I connect my mixer piece to my mixer and I start on low speed. I don't want to put it on medium or high speed since I'm working here with flour. I don't want to be creating any mess, so always start with low speed at the beginning. As you see here, I'm moving it to medium speed and adding the water at the same time. So I keep on mixing and adding water, mixing and adding water until I form a nice dough. I increased the speed a little bit here, as you see, and I kept on mixing until I formed a nice and firm dough. I don't want my dough to be too sticky and I don't want it to be too hard. Here I transfer the dough into a larger bowl. I don't want to keep it in the same bowl because it's going to rise and it needs space to rise. So I just kind of pat it and I'm going to cover it with a plastic wrap and let it rise for at least 20 minutes to half an hour or until it doubles in size. This step is very, very important. So always let your dough rest and rise for a better result. Here is exactly what we're looking for. Here's what my dough should look like. As you can see here, my dough doubled in size and is ready to work with. Always use a large bowl for your dough to rise so it doesn't overflow. And here I'm carefully trying to move the sides towards the center of my dough without getting much air out of it. I started dividing my dough into small balls. I didn't really have to use my scale to weigh my dough, but it's up to you. It is optional if you want to weigh your dough in order to have the same exact size for each ball. I sprinkle my tray with flour, then I start placing the balls in my tray. If you ever run out of the same flour you're using to make your bread, then you can just replace it with any type of flour you have, just to avoid the stickiness of your dough to your tray. As you see in this step, this is the traditional way Moroccans form balls out of the dough. You don't have to go with the same exact way I'm forming the balls, but it won't hurt to try. Just try your best to make the dough look nice and round. I finished all my dough and I've got here about 15 pieces. You can either make them smaller or bigger. It's always up to you. What I do is to cover them with a clean cloth and let them rest for about another 20 minutes. Here is what my dough looks like after about 20 minutes. What I'm gonna do here is to start only with one tray and keep the other one covered so it won't get dry until I want to work with it. To coat my bread, I'm going to use sesame seeds, wheat bran, all-purpose flour, and some cold water that I placed in a plate. I sprinkle my working surface with some flour. I flatten my dough. I dip only the surface in the water, then coat it with the wheat bran. Make sure you always coat the same surface that you dipped in water. I pat my dough a little bit to get more wheat bran on it, as much as I can get, so it will look good at the end. And always sprinkle your tray before you place the dough. Here I'm gonna show you another one. Again, I flat it, dip it in water, only the surface. Coat it with wheat bran, then place it in the tray. I did about 4 pieces here with wheat bran. The rest I'm going to make them with sesame seeds, all-purpose flour, and some I'm just going to leave it plain. As you see again, I flatten my bread. I dip the surface only in water. Then coat it with all-purpose flour. You can choose any other flour you have, or semolina, or wheat flour, or corn flour. It's always up to you. And always remember to sprinkle your trays before placing your dough. Here I'm making another one just to see. I flatten the bread, dip the surface in water, dip it or coat it with white flour, and so on until you finish the quantity you want with all-purpose flour. This time I'm going to use sesame seeds to coat my bread. I just pour some sesame seeds in a plate, same as I did before with bran wheat and all-purpose flour. I flatten my bread, dip the surface in water, then coat it with sesame seeds. My oldest child loves them. He loves any type of bread with sesame seeds. Here I'm gonna show you another one with sesame seeds. I flatten, I dip only the surface in the water, then coat it again with sesame seeds. And here is how it looks like. And for the rest of my bread, I'm just going to flatten them and leave them plain. Here I'm done with all the bread. Now I'm gonna show you the last step before baking. In this last step, you can either use a sharp knife or a sterilized blade. I use sterilized blade and I make lines only on the surface. I try not to touch the bottom so I won't cut my bread. And I do the same thing to the sesame seed, the wheat bran bread. I'm done with all my bread here. Here is what it looks like. I'm just gonna cover it with a clean cloth and let it rise again for about another half an hour or until it doubles in size. My bread is finally ready to bake. As you see, it almost doubled in size, and this is how it looks like. Now I'm going to preheat my oven on 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 Celsius and bake it for about 20 minutes or until it's done. Et voila! Now my bread is fresh out of the oven and ready to eat. And look how yummy and fluffy it is on the inside. You can have it with some honey, olive oil, or any other spread such as jam, cream cheese, or peanut butter. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and try this recipe. Don't forget to leave me any comments if you have any questions. Please like and subscribe for more new recipes. Thank you.